6 years ago, while I was kneeling in the rain by my father's fresh grave, my older sister was in the back seat of a car, seducing my fiancé of 4 years. She left town with him before the memorial wake was even over, leaving behind a cruel note telling me that some women are just born to be second best. She genuinely believed she won the ultimate prize. She thought she had stolen the love of my life and destroyed my spirit for good. But standing in the foyer today, staring at the gold wedding band on my finger and the man standing proudly beside me, all the color has drained from her face. Because the man she tore our family apart for 6 years ago just signed our marriage certificate, and she is finally realizing she didn't win him. She walked straight into a trap that cost her everything. Welcome to BT Revenge Tales. Subscribe today for the most gripping betrayal and sweet revenge stories. My name is Claire, and at 29 years old, I learned that betrayal never comes from your enemies. It comes from the people who sit at your dinner table and smile in your face. The day we buried my father was freezing, gray, and soaked in relentless rain. My heart was shattered into 1,000 pieces. Dad had been my anchor, and with him gone, I leaned entirely on Julian, my fiancé of 4 years. We were supposed to get married that autumn. During the reception, I noticed Julian was nowhere to be found. I walked out to the parking lot to check on him, holding an umbrella against the biting wind. That was when I saw it. Through the steamed-up windows of a black sedan, my older sister, Vanessa, was wrapped around Julian, whispering in his ear with a smug look on her face. Before the wake even finished, they packed their bags and left town together. On the kitchen counter, Vanessa left a single, folded index card. It read, "Some women are just born to be second best. Don't wait up." Over the next few months, Vanessa made sure her victory was impossible to ignore. Every social media feed was flooded with designer shopping sprees, five-star resorts, and curated photos of Julian holding her hand. She blocked my number, but she left her public profiles open, a deliberate, petty performance meant to twist the knife. I refused to give her the satisfaction of watching me break. Instead of spiraling, I threw every ounce of my energy into my career as a senior forensic accountant. Numbers don't lie, manipulate, or pretend to love you. When the time came to clear out my father's home office, I found a locked steel filing cabinet in the back corner of the closet. Inside were bank ledgers, transfer authorizations, and corporate filings dated just weeks before Dad's passing. My father's signature had been forged on 3 separate wire transfers totaling over $400,000. Vanessa hadn't just stolen my fiancé, she had quietly drained our father's business accounts while he was lying in hospice care. I scanned every single document, backed them onto encrypted drives, and handed the original paper trail to our family estate attorney. I told him to hold everything until the right moment. 4 years flew by, and the polished image Vanessa projected online began developing massive cracks. Her lavish lifestyle had outpaced her stolen funds, racking up massive credit card debts, unpaid penthouse leases, and endless screaming matches behind closed doors. Julian was finally seeing the reality behind her charm. She wasn't the passionate, misunderstood woman she had pretended to be at my father's funeral. She was a calculating narcissist who used people until they were empty. He realized how thoroughly she had manipulated him, feeding him calculated lies about me to break us apart. On a rainy Tuesday evening, my phone buzzed with an unknown number. It was Julian. His voice was cracked, stripped of every ounce of pride he once held. He didn't ask for forgiveness, nor did he beg for a second chance. He simply asked for 20 minutes of my time. We met at a quiet diner 2 towns over. Julian looked exhausted, but his eyes were clear. He slid a thick manila folder across the table containing Vanessa's private bank statements, shell company registrations, and forged loan documents. He looked at me and said, "She's planning to destroy what's left of your dad's legacy. Let me help you stop her." Reviewing the files Julian brought, the full scale of Vanessa's desperation became crystal clear. She had drawn up fraudulent documentation to illegally liquidate the remaining minority shares of our late father's logistics company. If the sale went through, the family business would be stripped bare and sold for parts overseas. I didn't scream, cry, or rush to confront her. Revenge is an art best executed with quiet precision. Julian and I formed a silent, legally binding pact. For the next 18 months, he agreed to stay inside the lion's den, playing the role of the devoted, oblivious partner. Every time Vanessa forged an invoice, transferred company equity, or diverted funds to offshore accounts, Julian discreetly fed me the digital receipts and timestamps. Working side by side under immense pressure, the old connection we once had began to resurface. It was no longer the fragile romance of our early 20s, but a mature, grounded bond built on accountability, shared remorse, and mutual trust. Julian spent every single day proving his regret through decisive action, making amends not with empty words, but with undeniable loyalty. By the end of that 18th month, Vanessa's arrogance reached its absolute peak. Convinced she had outsmarted every lawyer, auditor, and family member, she signed the final paperwork to sell off the logistics company. She was already bragging to her inner circle about dumping Julian and moving to Monaco with an overseas venture capitalist. She had no idea the ground beneath her feet was already hollowed out. 2 days before the scheduled sale, our corporate attorneys filed an emergency ex parte affidavit with the circuit court, presenting our exhaustive forensic paper trail. A judge immediately froze every single account attached to her name, locking her out of the business lines of credit and placing a freeze on her luxury vehicles. That night, Julian quietly packed his suitcases, laid his house keys on the marble counter, and walked out of the penthouse forever, leaving Vanessa stranded with 6 figures of unpaid commercial rent. The next morning, Vanessa received a certified courier envelope inviting her to a private event space in Chicago, explicitly stating it was the final, mandatory legal meeting to release her multi-million-dollar estate payout. Vanessa strutted into the private garden venue wearing a crimson designer dress, a pair of dark sunglasses, and a smirk that screamed entitlement. She expected a room full of defeated attorneys holding a 7-figure check. Instead, the heavy oak doors swung open to reveal 50 of our closest family members, friends, and former business associates standing around a floral altar. I was standing at the end of the aisle in an ivory silk wedding dress. Next to me, looking sharper than ever in a black tuxedo, was Julian. We had exchanged vows and signed our legal marriage certificate less than 20 minutes prior. Vanessa froze, the color violently draining from her face. Her designer purse slipped from her hand, hitting the hardwood floor with a dull thud. Before she could even process the scene or scream a word of protest, a uniformed process server stepped out from behind the foyer pillar. He handed her a thick manila packet containing 46 counts of grand larceny, corporate forgery, and civil fraud. "Congratulations, Vanessa," I said softly, stepping forward. "Your payout just arrived." The fallout was swift, brutal, and entirely deserved. Faced with an airtight forensic audit and Julian's damning testimony, Vanessa's defense completely collapsed. The court ordered immediate liquidation of her personal luxury assets to pay back full financial restitution to our father's estate, alongside mandatory community service and years of supervised corporate probation. Stripped of her stolen wealth and social prestige, every fair-weather friend she had ever bought vanished overnight. She left the state in utter disgrace, completely cut off by our extended family. 6 years after the darkest day of my life, standing in the bright sunlight outside our venue, Julian took my hand and slipped the wedding ring into place. True justice isn't about screaming, crying, or throwing tantrums. It's about staying calm, letting deceitful people expose their own greed, and quietly building an honest life they can never tear down. I am finally at peace, exactly where I belong.